I got Brian Bogert here. He's an AI expert and an authenticity coach, which is a really weird combination because do they go together? And I think one thing I wanted, Brian, I just freaking cut you off when we started this show. I love that. I was just saying, dude, I don't get all hyped up on this stuff like on the show. I want to be real, be yourself. You don't have to be like, oh my gosh, we're on, let's go live, you know? But hey, you're an authenticity guy, so I would assume nothing less from you.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. Like anybody who spent more than about 2 minutes with me knows that I'm full of life, brother, and I have a ton of energy. And when I get on things that I care about, right, people or solutions or growth or leadership, I get really passionate, and my passion comes through my words. And so none of this is fabricated. Go look at anything. Come to any of my live talks coming up in the next few weeks, and you'll see this. This is who I am, man. And so I appreciate that you're doing you, and I'm going to do me, and hopefully everybody's okay with that.
If they're not, go away. Everybody go away if you're not okay.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So here's why I asked Brian on this show. Somebody referred Brian to me. I specifically asked this person, I won't name drop here. I specifically asked this person, hey, I need somebody who's an AI expert in the coaching consulting space, which here at Group Coach Nation, we're all coaching consulting types, building high ticket group coaching programs and masterminds, as you know, Brian. Authenticity is so critical. And AI is something we desperately need to figure out and get our brains around. If you haven't already, everybody's tinkered with it, but few people are masters at it. Being authentic while using AI is like such a mystery for so many people. So I've asked Brian to come on here and talk about authenticity and talk about AI because he's an AI expert who's been an authenticity coach and speaker for a long time. So Brian, before we talk AI, will you give us a little bit of your backstory? You have a really fascinating backstory. We have a 15-minute total conversation here, buddy. So hang on tight. Brian's going to rock and roll. But I want to hear a little bit about your backstory so people can know you.
And I talk fast and I walk fast, and my whole thing is to cram in as much value in every moment that I've got as possible. So just, a lot of times if you need to, you'll slow this down afterwards. But yeah, the story I'm probably most well known for is the story that started when I was age 7. I was run over by a truck and my left arm was completely severed from my body. It was reattached. I had 24 surgeries, years of surgery and adversity. And anybody who knows the work that I do with people knows that I am the creator of what's called the waste to wealth methodology. What does that mean? I help heart-centered impact makers, entrepreneurs, corporate organizations identify and remove the waste they don't even know exists within, and be able to transform that and be able to amplify that into wealth-generating activities that's far beyond just financial riches. It's also time, relationships, and health. But at the end of the day, a lot of what I do and what I'm associated with is trauma and healing and understanding what I call the trash from our past, which no longer serves us, right? The biggest thing that I always say to everybody is the trash from your past is not your fault. But it does become your responsibility once you become aware of it, or you start burying others in yours. And that was a story that hit me, right? I had mindset and mental toughness that served me for a long time, but then it left me very disconnected. Then I focused on vulnerability and authenticity, which at the time I defined as the glue that binded human connection. But that left me empty as well, because why? I wasn't chasing who, I was chasing what house, what car, what amount of money. By age 27, I had a $10 million business. My bank account was full. I found myself empty, and I had all the whats I ever wanted, but I learned that it cost me who I was. And for the last 13 years, I've been on a process of journey and recovery, but shame impacted me. Anger impacted me. It would show up in little moments like this where my wife would say something like, hey, honey, what do you want to do with the kids this weekend? But my shame and my anger filter would cause me to hear it this way. Hey, honey, you've not done enough to be a good husband and father here recently. So what are you going to do to make up for it this weekend? To which point, of course, I'm immediately reacting and getting defensive, right? And what do? I rattle off the 10 things I've done in the last few days to show her I'm a good husband and father. That wasn't even what she asked. But now what have I done? I've created damage unintentionally. I've created waste unintentionally, both in the relationship that I care most about, but also with the time, energy, and focus it's going to take to diffuse and repair that damage that came from the trash from the past. I wasn't reacting to what she said. I was reacting to what my cells in my memory told me she was saying, right? And so at the end of the day, a lot of what I teach is really getting ourselves down to the core level of awareness so we can be intentional in everything we do. We have a framework that we teach, but why do I say all this? And why is it important as it relates to AI? Chris, what does AI do for us? Like in any example, just what does AI do? Give an example.
Blog posts and newsletters or a LinkedIn article.
Right. It can take aggregate information, right? It can compress it. It can help us make better decisions. It can speed up timing, right? But at the end of the day, there's all these components. And I've been telling people for years, even before I took this other angle, that the greatest investment we can make is in AI. Now, here's the reality. I'm not talking about artificial intelligence. I'm talking about awareness and intentionality. And if we want artificial intelligence to operate like a human would, like we would want to amplify ourselves, we've got to put a deeper level of awareness and intentionality into everything that we do. Otherwise, we're letting it drive us, not the other way around. No different than our emotional reactions and trash that causes us to react in a moment. We think we're okay and good, but really it has nothing to do with what we're trying to amplify. And it was for these reasons, honestly, I ignored AI. I didn't touch it for almost 2 years. Why? Because I'm seeing myself working so hard, putting out content, building a brand, building a reputation, building impact and messaging. And then all of a sudden overnight, there's all these people who couldn't string together a thought who are all of a sudden producing long form content. And it doesn't sound anything like they do. Right. And so I avoided it for a long time. And I'll pause because I know that's going to open us up to the next part of the conversation. But that's the journey and the story. And clearly now what I'm using AI for is everything with awareness and intention, and only to amplify authenticity, not to dilute anything about who I am.
Perfect segue. So here's what's the big catch for a lot of people. And Brian, I'm sure you hear this all the time. I think people are over at this point when we're recording this. By the way, this is worth timestamping. I hardly ever timestamp episodes, but it is Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Okay. This ship's moving fast. So this is a fun one to timestamp.
Very.
6 months, a year ago, maybe, people were like, I don't know if I trust AI, it's going to take over the world, it's going to be a monster or whatever. Now I think everybody's realizing that's actually in some sort of business or marketing or sales or anything like that. Freaking use it or get left behind. Whatever you think about it, it's a tool and you got to figure it out. And so the question then becomes how? And I don't want it to feel like AI. I don't want it to feel like a robot. I don't want people to feel like they're talking to a robot. Those are the simple, basic questions. But when it comes to what are the really deep things you can have this stuff do and how you can work with it, it's super powerful. By the way, for those of you listening in, I keep flashing up here on the screen. If you want to contact Brian, his email is brian@brianbogert.com. That's BrianBogert.com. He has a really cool AI process you can use it's free. Like you're willing to give us for free? Okay, cool. Yeah,
we're right now in testing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For right now, yeah. As of this moment we're recording this, if it costs you money in 2 days, sorry. BrianBogert.com, and put the word amplify AI in the subject line or something like that so he can grab that and he'll send you the link and you can test out a really cool AI process. So before we use however you want to go through this, Brian, but how do you go into the AI space and actually pull something that allows you to connect and relate to human hearts? Because I think that's the disconnect for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I mean, what AI is now just coming around to, and I think it will be further advanced by the end of this year, is really reasoning with the ability to capture emotional nuance and structure. But in lieu of that, it's like everything else. How do we drive it? Right? I associate AI with anything like I would with leadership, with coaching, with interacting with humans. Right? If you have a clear vision, you understand what you're working towards, you have the ability to ask really good questions, you have the ability to be patient and iterate through multiple sessions and hold yourself to a standard, then over time, you can not only train things to work really effectively for you, but you can start to see what becomes possible.
And by the way, let me interrupt there. By the way, that's your job, everybody, Group Coach Nation, that's your job every day.
Yes.
He's not saying go learn a new skill set. It's like you're having a coaching, consulting relationship with AI. If you can do it with a client, you can do it with AI, and the AI is easier than a client. So keep going.
Yeah, thank you for interjecting on that. I think it's a really important piece. And, again, I think of what's important is I told you I avoided it for years. I didn't use any LLM or any logging of AI until August 30th of last year. And I had a buddy shift my mentality on it relatively quickly. And it only took about a month or a month and a half before my brain, that's a little bit crazy and sees patterns and sees opportunity, to lean fully into it. But I had to see it differently than how I believed it was showing up. And the very first prompt I ever put in actually showed me this, that supported my philosophy. See, I've put out enough in the world that there was enough of my brand and my voice out there. Not that I would trust it to write for me, but my very first prompt was, do you know who Brian Bogert is? And it was pretty astounding to see, because of all of what I've done with podcasts. I've been on 1,000 podcasts in the last 4 years as a guest. We put out a ton of content, right? But here's where my biggest block almost always was. I'm really good verbally. I'm really good in person. And most of the time, whatever was up here or whatever happened in these coaching sessions, even if I recorded them, wasn't as tangible as I wanted it to be. For the last 4 years, we've been trying to put stuff into processes and systems and workbooks and visuals and educational materials. Why? Because if we don't have educational materials to add real value, and it also doesn't demonstrate what we're doing as a coach, then what are we doing? Right? Like, it doesn't bring people in. I've been running a mastermind for 18 months, but very few people know we have a mastermind. But part of it was also trying to figure out, how do I systematize things in a way that saves me time, but doesn't sacrifice quality or the standards that I want. And so ultimately, it developed in a whole variety of different ways. But what we're doing now, and I created it for my own purposes, for my own mastermind. We had a team that was spending 3 to 4 hours a week on the tail end of every mastermind that was going through and logging notes in the most critical moments. We were doing some follow-up stuff, but it was very manual because I didn't want to replace human. And now those 3 to 4 hours we're not even utilizing. We're having them refocus their time and energy in different places, because the model that I built allows for one single transcript upload. Now, this applies whether it's a mastermind, a community coaching session, a webinar, a podcast, because we put the methodology in now to be able to allow you to accommodate the platform, as well as to identify the key voice that you want to capture the tone. I put a very deep voice, tone, delivery, and reasoning methodology in that allows us to extract and has an iterative memory learning component. So it gets smarter the more someone uses it. And we also have custom tiers that can be programmed. But what does it do? I can take one transcript, upload it into a form, and 6 to 10 minutes later, I have 7 high quality deliverables that I don't have to do anything else for other than read through and ensure that they support the tone.
And is that what you're offering right here in this?
It's what I'm offering right here for anybody that's in this room to test it. Now,
Dude,
what I'm going to tell everybody in here is we are in minimum viable product mode, meaning we're getting ready to launch beta on this because it's been proven and we've run enough through it. And now we are taking it to the next level. So why do I tell you that? Because I'm one of those that's like, I'm going to build it before I make it fancy. I want to prove the concept before I make it fancy. And so I tell you all that because there's elements of this that may look a little more rough, at least on the presentation on the beginning, but at the same time, it's about what the quality of the output is. And so if I were to share and show you something, you and I, when we started our conversation today, I uploaded a transcript the second you and I logged in.
By the way, this is,
later,
so y'all know, this is like 25 minutes ago, we started talking like offline. So yeah.
And 6 minutes later, before we even jumped on this thing, right? What did I have? I had the ability to have a meeting narrative written in detail in my voice that goes through the core teachings, the key lessons, the emotional breakthroughs, that identifies the participants that are in here, their insights, the actionable takeaways, the motivational call to action. It then restructures it into a motivational recap email written in my voice to the team to remind them of the most critical pieces and remind them to go back in and touch the sessions. Then we have a podcast style timestamp summary that goes through and identifies each of the key moments and the relevance to them so that people can navigate the recordings more simplistically. Now, if we look at this, the secondary piece to this, and I'm trying to, I switched my screen. Okay, the second one here is this. Then it turns all of that into a Forbes style article that's written in thematic breaks, all written in my tone. It then goes through this after it's all written it up. It even pulls in a micro story of Fortnite and vulnerability that I had with my son that I told on the story, right? Then what's the intentional shift? Then it answers and rewrites that into a LinkedIn maximized post that has all the emojis, hashtags written again authentically in my voice. It then produces the LinkedIn post promotion, the 300 to 500 words right up front to describe it. It just defines all of that for consistency. And then it gives you a promotional email to be able to promote the free item or promote your mastermind or your webinar or whatever solution you have on the backside. And so all of this is on the front end. Now, future development, we have already done this and tested it on our side. It's just we're not putting it out yet for others. The next step to this is it creates infographics in 3 different age groups under the age of 22 so that people can repurpose them for their kids. It then puts it into social media carousel assets, writes all the social media copy, again, all congruent and consistent to our voice in the lesson. And then it produces a landing page copy, and the ability to then have it be a downloadable link so that you can actually use it as promotional educational materials. So
holy cow.
I did this because I want to save my own time. And here's the reality. What we've proven is our team spends literally 10 to 15 minutes a week to now produce these materials that used to take 3 to 4 hours for only 2 to 3 of what now are 12 high quality materials. And so and it's all in my voice because we keep training it, and everybody else who's used it captures their voice typically right out of the gate.
Wow. Okay. this is not meant to be some huge plug for something free, but yeah, this is really cool. So there's his email address, Brian at Brian Bogert, that's spelled BrianBogert.com, and just put in the word amplify AI or something like that. But try to put amplify AI. That way the system can grab your info and send you back a link. So here's like, can I just let everybody know, if you've not tinkered with AI yet, or if you're like, I don't know, it seems super hard, if your team hadn't figured it out, please use this as a test model. Like, I don't know, maybe it was a year ago, my team started getting into it, and it changed so much for us and made life so much easier. And when you do it right, it crushes. And doing it right takes a lot of time to learn how to do it right. If you have a system you can plug and play like this, that's already got the back end built out, it is so freaking easy. I love
But
this.
again,
Brian.
my first prompt was August 30th of last year. So if I can learn this in 9 months, you can too. And what I want to encourage for every single coach is, I just talked about something from my mastermind, but what you and I talked about earlier, Chris, is I've created for my 1-day intensives a process that creates an 8 to 10 page report that gives the person who's paying me 15 grand for a day very detailed action items and the clarity. I can document 6, 12, 18-month client journeys through my mastermind, through one-on-one coaching that shows the key breakthroughs, the ROI, those moments of shift for them so that they can really understand the impact of these things. And I just renewed over $50,000 of client contracts simply because I had something tangible to help them document and remind them of their journey. AI is a powerful tool, but again, it matters what you feed it, what you ask of it, and the standards of what you expect from it to produce. But when you create a process around it, you truly can amplify who you are and the impact you're having instead of diluting it. And again, this is all about compressing time so we have more time, energy, and focus to do the things that we want in our lives, our businesses, and with the people that we care about.
Unbelievable. Okay, Group Coach Nation. There you go. Brian, thank you. Thank you for explaining who you are. Thank you for explaining some how AI works stuff. But I don't know if this is the right thing to say, but thank you even more than that. Not minimizing your story and who you are, but thanks for a legit tool to help us actually take action. Because we say here all the time at Group Coach Nation, do work, get results. If you freaking don't do the work, don't complain about the results you're not getting. We just ask people not to build the hustle lifestyle. Don't work 80 hours a week. Do the right work to get the right results. And this is one of the clearest connections to a real tool that will give you the right results with the right work. Brian at Brian Bogert, ERT, BrianBogert.com is his email, and Amplify AI is what you put in there. That email, subject line, in the message, whatever. Brian, thank you. Truly, thank you.
I appreciate you, brother. I'm really happy for our connection. And again, I just want people to see what's possible here, right?
Yeah.
And to see that we don't need to be afraid of the technology, especially if we know how to drive it, because at the end of the day, it's a tool like everything else. It's no different than hiring an employee or an assistant. If you know how to guide them, train them, direct them, create systems, guess what? You can have a replicatable piece that really allows you to scale your impact.
An actual real business. All right.
Yep.
Do work, get results, everybody. Brian, you're the best. Thanks for your time.